From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LALATE with the latest breaking details about your stocks, your bonds, your crypto, your housing market crash of 2022, your recession of 2022, and your four stimulus checks updates of 2022 as well. In today's recording, we go over those incredible four stimulus checks that are in every U.S. state and are likely to grow across the board. They're huge. They are a lot of money, averaging about an $80,000 check in every single state. In this recording, we're going to go over how to get those incredible checks and why they are so wonderful. Step 1 for you is to subscribe to this channel. Step 2 is to become a member. And step 3, stay the second half of this video, the whole video in fact, because in this incredible video, we're going to go over how to get these four stimulus checks in every U.S. state. Subscribe, become a member, and stay with me because they're coming up later in this major broadcast. We're going to turn back to the U.S. economy that had breaking details today as well. More retailers struggling. Today, Dick's Department Store and Lyft and Nordstrom actually with a slight beat. We'll have the latest details on the retail implosion of the U.S. economy coming day after day. The implosion from Snap felt earlier this week is still hitting the tech sector. That sector is considerably still down. Snap, of course, the application social media stock, it continues to unravel. Facebook and Twitter, all the latest details on that as well. Then we have big news about student loan debt forgiveness. More debt could be forgiven before the Memorial Day weekend. What is it? Well, the latest on that front. The housing numbers were released yesterday, and they were not good. The housing market crash of 2022 is upon us. The recessionary concerns of a recession for 2022 upon us as well. That is also on top of the stock market crash of 2022. What about those interest rates? Well, they're going higher. And there's new indication today from Davos, Switzerland, as the European Central Bank's governor, one of its governors, says a half basis point increase is still on the table for July in Europe. This comes after we were told it's not going to happen. The latest details on that front, but the big news is that a four stimulus check is in every U.S. state. Stay with me because over this incredible broadcast, we're going to get it. Subscribe and become a member and get ready for the most powerful recording you're going to see today on your stimulus, on your money. It's Afternoons, and it starts right now. And good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're having a beautiful day. It is May 20th of 2022 as we go into a big, bold, beautiful Memorial Day weekend in which I'll be recording every single day with you. I have the latest updates on your four stimulus check update of 2022, the latest details on your housing crash of 2022, your recession of 2023, and also your stock market crash of 2022. In this incredible recording, we're going to go over all this incredible sums of money, but stay with me because later in this video, I'm going to get you some money. We're not only doing analysis here, we're also getting you hard, cold cash. A four stimulus check is now in every U.S. state, and stay with me. Subscribe and become a member because coming up later in this video, we're going to get those big checks. One check over nearly $80,000. And I've had big success stories in the last few days from viewership of this viewership getting those checks. I'll detail some of the success stories coming up later in this recording. Plus, we'll have a preview of tonight's Evenings LALATE in primetime, America's most watched show for financial news at 5 o'clock. You can't miss it. The four stimulus checks in every U.S. state are the result of my effort to find it for you, and they're not the result of Congress. They didn't get it done yet. These four stimulus checks in every U.S. state are done by Joseph Biden by executive order, and I found them in every U.S. state for you if you're single, if you're married, if you have children, if you don't have children, if you're young, if you're old, if you are on benefits, if you're not on benefits, if you own, if you rent. Every U.S. state for you. How good could that be? It's great. It's coming up later in this recording. A four stimulus check, not just one, but several of them. And viewers have been really succeeding quite well on these checks this week, getting those applications in right away because I've been warning in 90 days from now, I expect a stimulus stampede. A stimulus stampede because the U.S. economy is getting very weak very quickly, very fast. And when it does, people are going to ask for checks, and these are the checks that are law. You're not going to see these checks really covered anywhere else in the landscape of American recording right now because no one really knows about them because they're not going over the research of them to find them. That's what I did to get these checks for you. They're focused instead on the Build Back Better Act. The Build Back Better Act will give you additional checks on top of these, but they're not going to give you checks this week, this month, or this quarter. The Build Back Better Act is not going to give you a check 5 days from now, 5 weeks from now, but I am right this month. And these credible forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state have been lost since March, and that is why you need to stay with me and get those huge checks coming up later in this recording. The Build Back Better Act does have some great news, and the great news is that the negotiations had resumed earlier this month, as I had so reported first, and the negotiators are a two-man team. They are Joe Manchin, Democrat, West Virginia, and Chuck Schumer, Speaker, the leader of the Senate, Democrat from New York. Two individuals who publicly have said in the last few days they really like each other. They get along very well. They negotiate quite well. They understand each other's likes and dislikes. And they also say they want to get this done. They want to get this done out to you so that you have a check, and they say you need it because of the impeding trouble of this U.S. economy. What's breaking news that they have certainly not commented about, but I'm certainly going to comment about right now? A lot of forces to get this Build Back Better Act done. One, the economy, obviously one. Two, the midterm elections, obviously that one as well. But something overnight, and that was the Herschel Walker win in Georgia for the Republican primary. Yes, Herschel Walker will now run against Raphael Warnock for the Senate seat out of Georgia, one of two, this fall. This is a big situation for the Build Back Better Act, and they're not going to tell it to you, but I am. Why? Because this sort of keys up exactly almost the mirror image of what happened in 2020. Remember what happened in 2020? The elections was held, and then they had to have a runoff for those two Georgia Senate seats. Ossoff and Warnock won both of them. Remember, Democrats had to win both of the seats to secure a hold on the Senate. The way they got the win was done the following way, indicating to you if you voted for them, they would give you stimulus right after the election. And you voted for them, and they gave you some version of the stimulus, not exactly how they were represented. I fully expect that Warnock and certainly Chuck Schumer and any Democrat in control understands that they got to get the stimulus out or they lose the Warnock seat to Herschel Walker. This is why they understand they got to get Build Back Better Act. And this is why I think you're likely to see Warnock sort of paraded in a way, almost for working on the Build Back Better Act in these final days, because they want to credit that success to him, so ensures that he gets reelected for that one contested Georgia Senate seat this fall, not Herschel Walker. This is really fascinating developing details. Now, in the evening's LA tonight on 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, I'm going to go over the big checks in the Build Back Better Act, 3 clauses and 3 add-ons of checks. There's a lot of money in the Build Back Better Act, but it's not likely to look the way it looked in 2021 when it goes to a vote in 2022. The likelihood of it getting modified is highly there. And one of the items that you certainly know would get modified. How do we know this? How do we do the analysis? This comes from hours and hours of research, and also you know the answer if you've been a longtime viewer. This is why it's important to watch this channel, because you know the answers before the event happens. As soon as I told you earlier last week that the negotiators were Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin, you immediately must have remembered what I said in 2021, that Joe Manchin would not vote in favor of the Build Back Better Act if certain provisions are in there. Do you remember? Well, those are the ones I think are likely to get removed. 1, anything for seniors, and 2, anything for paid leave. In regards to seniors, Joe Manchin has made very clear that he does not want to fund the Medicare system because he believes it's a broken system, overrun, and that he does not want to spend more money out of it. So dental, gone. Vision, gone. Hearing, gone. Medicaid gap fix, well, more about that in a second. And then lowering the eligibility age of Medicare, not going to happen. He doesn't want to put more people on Medicare. So those all provisions are likely to gone. Ironically, it was Raphael Warnock who, with Joe Manchin, got that Medicaid fix done. That's going to survive. That provides a workaround plan for 12 Republican holdout states that vowed never to pay for insurance for low-income uninsured people. That provision would likely stay in there as well. What about the paid leave? Absolutely going to come out. Paid leave was the provision that really had a lot of problems for Build Back Better Act in 2021. It was initially in there. Then he said, take it out. Nancy Pelosi took it out. Then, in spite of Joe Manchin, she put it back in there. And now he's absolutely going to take it out. Other than that, I think all the other provisions are likely to survive. And last night on Evenings LA, was it Evenings LA? Maybe it was Afternoons LA. I went in deep on the CTC credit. There's a big movement on social media. Big, 100 people. Compare that to the Purple Power community, yeah. It's like really tiny. It's really tiny, like the popularity of Mitch's lobster shorts. It's that tiny. There was a big movement on social media to really get Joe Manchin to put the CTC credit, tax credit for the children in the Build Back Better Act. Well, it's already in there, but the movement to put that before anything else doesn't make a lot of sense. If you want to see more of my commentary, watch that video from yesterday. Everything else in Build Back Better Act, we've never heard anything negative from Joe Manchin. So I believe that those provisions would stay in there. But again, what I'm saying to you is that it's likely to be a very different body of legislation. It's a different year, it's a different situation, and the great news is that I got for you 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state. It starts with a series of steps. Step 1, subscribing to this channel. Step 2, becoming a member. And step 3, getting that newsletter Monday through Friday. We have the Memorial Day weekend coming on. So you want to become a member really lickety-split because things will not be open on Monday if it's a government agency. You want to get a membership right now and then get that newsletter right now and pounce. You don't want to delay a week out because of the Memorial Day weekend. I'm going to go over those incredible checks for you in just a second. The other thing that's amplifying the need to get Build Back Better done is the housing crisis of 2022, the stock market crash of 2022, and the recession, not of 2022, in my opinion, 2023. Let's go over the latest details on each of them, which starts, of course, with the corporate earnings that came in today. More corporations reported today. I told you this was going to be a big day, and Thursday will as well, with Macy's and Costco reporting later this week. Stay with me for that news. Dick's Sporting Goods reported corporate earnings this morning, and the numbers were a beat, higher than expected on the revenue side. They were a miss, not as high as expected, on the net income side, on the profit side. That's again because of supply chain disruption, because of the costs were too high, and the demand was good there for the revenue, but it ate away with the costs and brought down the net profits. That caused Dick's Sporting Goods to plummet dramatically today. And this is the latest implosion of the retail market. Started with Amazon, then went to Walmart, then went to Target, then went to Kohl's, Ross Department Stores. And here we go also with Dick's Department Store, which was initially down 14.4% in its pre-market trading before the market opened, as he gave weaker than expected outlook for the rest of the year. And this is as its profits fell for the current last quarter, even though its revenues were a little bit higher. Now let's go to the comparison. The comparison, of course, with Nordstrom's. Nordstrom's came in with a beat and actually rose this morning. Why is it so different? What analysts are now saying, and I agree 100% with them, is that this market is very confusing. These corporations are very confusing. And that even in the retail space, it's very hard to predict it out. In the case of why Nordstrom did better, a lot of people were going back into the office. They were returning back into work. And they were no longer buying sporting goods to go hiking, because they're not on lockdown anymore. Now they had to buy suits and dresses and professional attire for work. That's a Nordstrom buy. That's why Nordstrom went up. Very, very fascinating across the board. Here we go with Lyft. Uber has had big problems this year, and now Lyft, which is already down 60% this year. Incredible. Fell another, are you ready for this? 17% on Tuesday, after it cut budgets and slow hiring and says it's going to have big problems just like Uber. Incredible. Now, when we look at Express, the retailer for clothing, went up 12%, beat a slight beat on that. And Toll Brothers, which has to deal with building of luxury homes, went up about 3.5%, relatively flat, and Urban Outfitters fell about 2%. The Dick's Department Store is the big story today. Why is the Dick's Department Store the big story today? It's not because of the revenue, it's because of the earnings. The earnings per share, when it reported the 3-month period, it came in at $361 billion. It came in with $260 million for the 3 months ending April 30th, when it was when it was $361 billion the year before. The latest implosion of the retail space is signaling there's a big problem with this economy. The big problem with this economy is very, very amplified. Recession 2022, well, last week, 81% of Americans polled by a financial channel in which they're watching financial news on a regular basis said we're going to recession later this year. Ouch. Is that the case? Well, back in February, I was the only U.S. broadcaster to report we're going into recession. I've been reporting recession coming to this economy in January 2023 since February of this year. But now 81% of Americans think we're going to recession later this year. So consumer confidence has dramatically dropped across the board. What does this mean for the stock market crash of 2022? Analyst Julian and Emmanuel said just a week ago that in a bear market, we go down 21%. We're already down 21%. And then in a bear market with recession, we go down 47 to 48%. We're halfway there. Now, Julian Emmanuel came back with a new quote overnight. I forgot to bring it on set. He said, I don't think we're in a recession, or that we may not go into recession. Here we go. Everyone's trying to find the bottom of the stock market crash of 2022. My opinion, it's not at the bottom. My opinion is we're going to recession. We're absolutely going to recession for 2 years, starting next year. And that means we have another 20% down for the stock market crash of 2022. Let's go over to the housing market crash of 2022. Here we go. Back in February, I said that the U.S. economy is not in recession yet, but the housing market is, and the auto market is as well. That was after 5 consecutive months of new home starts down. What happened yesterday? Last night on E-News LALATE, I gave for you the breaking news that came in on the housing market, and that data was shocking. Remember, the data revealed last night is real-time data. Usually when we talk about the housing data, it's delayed, 3 months out, 4 months out, because people have to go into escrow to sell the house, and then the escrow takes 2 to 3 months. No, this data was on point. And the data showed that the numbers were very weak. In fact, the numbers showed that comparing year to date, those housing numbers were a major drop across the board. Is this a cheap market, or is it a downturning market? Well, the material reduction in asset value of the market may send us into the conclusion of inflation. What? A new report by billionaire hedge fund manager Bill Ackman says if the Federal Reserve does not get inflation down, the stock market crash of 2022 will end inflation. This is shocking, but I actually agree with it. He's basically saying the stock market crash of 2022 will wipe away inflation if the Federal Reserve doesn't take care of it. Well, we have breaking news about the Federal Reserve, not from Jay Powell, but from the latest in the ECB, the European Central Bank, which is the European equivalent to our central bank, has had a lot of people at that European economic conference in Davos this week, and they got one person on air to speak about what the ECB will be doing with inflation and interest rates in July. And here we go. European Central Bank member whose name is Klaas Knot, that's hard to say, Klaas Knot, when asked whether there will be a 50 basis point spike at either the July or September meeting, Knot would not outrule this likelihood. This is a hard one. Knot would not outrule the likelihood of a rise. Not as far as I'm concerned. As I read the situation right now, it's clearly not off the table, says Knot. Then the reason why Knot says it's not off the table is, I did not prepare this way, it's just coming out this way, right, folks, is that we had just days before the French individual. Yeah, it's always the French individual. The Bank of France's governor, Francois Villesoleil de Galas, I just butchered that, said on Tuesday that rate hikes in July and September are not happening. Will not came back today and says, no, it's not off the table. You following me? You're not. There we go. Don't get your lobster shorts in a knot because it is very complicated. So there we go. I'm done with that, and that's not enough of that stuff for today. Why is this important for you and your money? Because ultimately, what's going to happen is that the Federal Reserve is going to do a half basis point increase in July in the United States. We know that. Then what about August? What about September? I believe that J. Powell is going to come through with what he says, which is hitting like a hammer. Or hitting a pin with a hammer, hitting a pin with a sledgehammer, I should say, until he sends you into recession. He's going to keep on hitting and hitting and hitting with those interest rate spikes. And what is it going to do? It's going to send you a recession. I believe most Americans now believe the same situation as well. And that recession, when would it come? I believe it's coming next year. What I'm recommending for you for the stock market crash of 2022 is get rid of anything that has a variable interest rate. So credit card debt, get it paid off. Mortgage rates, see if you can swap into from a variable to a fixed mortgage rate. Then, if you have any student loan debt, well, you got to hope that Joe Biden does, as analysts expect he's going to do. That's coming up in just a second. Yes, more debt forgiveness. When going to the stock market, that is the latest details on the Federal Reserve. When looking at the stock market crash of 2022, we aren't done yet. We are not done yet. It started 2 days ago. Was it 2 days ago? When Snap, the social media company here from Santa Monica, actually it was Santa Monica, Venice, California, posted dreadful numbers. And they had given guidance on April 21st of this year. And then less than a month later, when they reported corporate earnings for Q1 2023, this Tuesday, they said the whole year is going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess. And Snap plummeted 40%, took all the tech space down, and this comes as those ridiculous analysts. Thank you, next. Did you see that yesterday? New expression on this channel. Thank you, next. Borrowing from Ariana Grande. Every time that you hear ridiculous analysis, you say, thank you, next. It's just ridiculous. Where those analysts said a month ago, the tech bleeding is done. That was until Snap reported earnings. And now Facebook and Twitter and all the social media companies are dramatically down. The implosion of Snap is far from over. It's been 2 days later, and this is as retail and tech is taking a hit. We're not done there yet, as Uber and Lyft are taking dramatic hits as well. The housing market crash of 2022 is just getting started. As we learned from that data yesterday, what's going on is that home builders are not getting the reality check. When they are available for quotes last week, they said the demand is just there. The demand is great. And then when they reported their earnings reports, they had horrible numbers. Why? Because no one's paying the prices they're asking, because they've increased the prices based upon the supply chain costs going up. That housing market crash of 2022 is going to be very, very severe. Housing will likely go into complete recession. I'm reporting it's already in recession right now. Will go in complete recession and bring the rest of the U.S. economy into that as thereafter. Now, let's go over to the four stimulus checks that are in every U.S. state. Thank goodness for you. Thank goodness for me. Thank goodness for this community, the Purple Power community. Why? Because you say what you need, I say what I can find, and then as a community, we push to get things together, and then we inspire one another. It's a symbiotic relationship that is so great. It started back in March, where you looked at me and said, "LA, what's going on with this Build Back Better Act? I need a four stimulus check. Can you get me one?" And I looked high and low, and I found not one, several of them. This takes hours of research. It's a needle in the haystack. It's not on broadcast media. It's not on print media. It's not on cable news. It's not on other YouTube channels. It's only here. It takes hours and hours of research to find these checks, then organize them in a way that you can digest them, and then deliver them to you both on air and then in the membership newsletter. Those checks, which I have now labeled in letters, are Check A, Check B, Check C, and Check D. And I'm going to show you how to get them after the commercial break. They are for you if you're a single individual, if you're married, if you're children, without children, on benefits, not on benefits, young, old, rent, or own. It's all available for you. Where have we gone from this, and where are we going with these 4 stimulus checks of 2022? Where we're going is that these checks are likely to survive for another 3 months, I think. I think there's enough funds to survive for another 3 months, but then after that, I don't know if the funds will survive. That's ultimately why I've been putting fire under your feet with the economic news, with the economic predictions, to tell you to go get these checks right now, because there will be a stimulus stampede in 90 days from now as the U.S. economy gets worse. Why? As the headwinds of that recession out to sea, currently picking up storm as a big tsunami of recession for 2023 comes closer to land, you're going to start to feel the pressure on land. The pressure you're feeling on land today is not the recession. You're feeling the pressure of inflation. But when that recession gets really close to land and you start to feel the wind pick up, what's going to happen? Number one, people are going to start to be laid off. You're working in that department store and suddenly they report the corporate earnings way down. Here's what's going to happen. Number one, they brought a lot of you back into work when the lockdown was done, thinking that there was going to be a big demand for the consumer to come back into the store, and they got it wrong. If the store is an outdoors type store where you're hiking and camping, that's no longer the focal point of the retail market. People are back to work. They're not hiking 10 hours a day, unless it's that one viewer with her banana boat. Yeah, I envy these people who have the ability to just hike all the time. It's just me with trolls. I'm just telling everyone to always take a hike. So there we go. The retailers that have the ability to get the consumer in the store are the ones that are the back to work play. You're back to work. You need clothing and go back to work. Those are stores doing well. Well, if you're not in one of those retailers, you're going to get laid off. That's what Walmart said this week. We have too many store employees in there, and we're not moving the merchandise. You're going to get laid off. It's as simple as that. Uber and Lyft just said, Lyft today, you saw early in this video, we are not going to continue our hiring at Lyft. We have too many drivers. There you go. Quick changing economy where they said there was a labor shortage. Now we don't want you as an employee. Now we have too many of you. We're going to start cutting you. And guess what people are going to say? Do you have some PUA? No, I don't have PUA anymore. Do you have EIDL? When this channel launched in March of 2020, millions of Americans went onto lockdown and they needed a lot of stimulus, and I had lots of stimulus for very different types. Those variant types are all gone. They were not extended under the law, so they don't exist as law anymore. It's not that they're out of money. They don't exist as law anymore. If you get laid off and you're an independent contractor, is there PUA anymore? No, there's not. If you get laid off, is there FPUC, that additional $600 on top of your weekly benefits if you're independent contractor W-2? No, there is not. Is there EIDL grant or EIDL loan if you're a single business owner, if you're a small business owner like a restaurant owner or a mom and pop business, if you're having problems because the consumer's not coming to the business? No, there is not. Is there an MSC check that's landing today from Congress? No, there is not. That is why the 4 stimulus checks I have found for you are really doing so well among viewers, because they understand this is not a picker's environment. You can't sit around and say, I don't like that. I'm going to wait for the better entree coming thereafter. The thereafter is not tomorrow. And that is why the viewership of this channel has done so well when I say get these checks right now. Step 1 is to subscribe to this channel. Step 2 is to become a member. Step 3 is to get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And stay with me to the very end, because I have more of those 4 stimulus checks coming up later in this video. Then, I have big exciting news about student loan debt forgiveness, new developing details about 6th stimulus, the latest update on 5th stimulus, because I know you always ask about that, student loan debt forgiveness, more on that. And then we'll be cutting back to the negotiations of the Build Back Better Act, and we'll have a preview of tonight's Evenings LALATE in prime time. What a big day we have. We're just getting started. But first, make sure you become a member during the commercial break and get ready to get that incredible membership newsletter. Plus, I'll be featuring a video later in this recording that viewers have said it really has helped them with the newsletter. All those details and more coming up after the commercial break. But first, here's the members community page. See you back in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page.
The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.lalate.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the excitement continues right now on Afternoons LA from May 25th, 2022. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, good afternoon. In the second half of this video, we're going to go over those big four stimulus checks in every U.S. state. And how do you do it? Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. And step 3, stay with me because I'm going to go over these incredible checks and how you get them one at a time. Let's take it back to understand how we got to these four stimulus checks, starting right now. The whole notion of these four stimulus checks is very important to understand what they're about and for you to be so happy that we are one community together getting these checks. It brings us back to March of 2020, when millions of Americans were told they're going on a lockdown. They had big problems. You had big problems. And suddenly you're about to lose your business, you're about to lose your job, and you need assistance. And that's what I did. The reason why this channel succeeded and the reason why this community took off, Purple Power Community, is together as one, we worked to get checks that require you to do something, and then you got big payouts. We got the EIDL grants, the EIDL loans, the PUAs, the PPPs, the LWAs, and more. These were big checks, 15, 20, 100,000, 200,000. That is what you needed at the time. Then, in December 2020, the second stimulus negotiations of Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin did not get to the finish line. And you needed money. You told me you did. So I stepped forward and showed you how to get money for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and more. It's what I call on the channel at the time, Purple. At the time, I got lucky because I had a preview of a piece of legislation coming next year, the year after that. It's what I coined the expression for as third stimulus. And it became law, and then you really took off. You really took off because you took all the information, the education I give you on this channel, and you didn't get the 15,000 from third stimulus I predicted you to get. You got 45,000. Now that third stimulus, that big money is check C, and it's coming up in just a second. But this is how we got to where we are today. The Purple Power community are people who pounce and get big checks so they don't sit around and keep their feet up and eat delicious donuts. What happened? Back in March, you said to me of this year, 2022, I need checks. Can you find me checks? And I found them. I found a lot of them. 4 stimulus checks done by who? The president. Executive order. These are 4 stimulus checks done by executive order. They were not done by Congress, they're done by the president. And it's not just one check, it's lots of them. So you ready? Here we go. If you're a member, pull out that membership newsletter and follow along with me. We're going to go over each of these checks, starting with the first one right now. It is a $6,500 to $12,000 fourth stimulus check. It is a lot of money. Yeah, $6,500 to $12,000. That's incredible. It is available for you if you make $75,000 or less, single individual. Married couple, $150,000 or less, go get it. Family of 4, go get it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Veterans Benefits, Social Security, go get it. It's called the Homeowners Weatherizing Grant Check. How do you get this monster check? Step 1, subscribe to this channel. Step 2, become a member. There's a join button under the video. It's also at the top of the chat. Join and become a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Join and then get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alerts. Once you have that newsletter in front of you, you go down to check A in the newsletter. There it is. You see it there. You then see more descriptions about it and then click the link. It sends you into the nationwide website. Then you choose your state. Then you choose the homeowner's weatherizing grant check and you pounce and get it. Yes, it's an online application, and yes, it's wonderful. Congratulations to the viewers who've gotten these checks in the last few days. If you have a success story, send to me on social media at Facebook.com/LALATE News, and I'll feature your success story in this next broadcast. Check B. Incredible check. Viewers have been getting lots of these. I think we've had 3 viewers this week alone who have gotten check B. It is $50,000 to $80,000. How do you get that check B? Well, let's go over the qualifications. Same as check A. Single individual, $75,000 or less. Married couple, $150,000 or less. It's called the homeowner's grant check. It is wonderful. And how do you get it? Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. Step 3, go right down in that membership newsletter and go down to where it is. It says check B. Then there's a link in there. Click the link and go right in and apply. Yes, that's all you got to do. It's all organized for you. As Carol, a longtime viewer, said, Alan, you make it so simple. You do all the research, you get all these checks together, you put it in a concise newsletter, and you deliver it to the viewers. There's nothing like this anywhere in the United States. It's the only newsletter from a broadcast channel in the United States, and this is the only broadcast channel in the United States that covers this, let alone cares about your economic and financial stability. That's why I do these recordings. Check C, you're going to get that check as well. Ooh, boy, this is exciting. This one is for, yes, drum roll, my renters, you, and also homeowners. It's an MSC, baby. $2,000 a month over 12 months is the averaging payout right now. But viewers, again, have been getting this since 2020. And these check Cs are absolutely incredible. Let's look at the success stories that people have gotten for check C over the last year. Here's the money for rent, $20,000 to $30,000. Here's the numbers for utilities. We've had a lot of viewers get over $15,000 for utilities. Here's a snap, not the stock, not the stock. This is the snap, and boy, it's a lot. Mark's brother-in-law is getting $25,000 a year over 10 years as $250,000. Here's the combo. There's Mark at $32,000 for several items. Here's Nisi at $23,000 for several items. Nisa keeps on going back. She's doing a great job. She's listening and keeps on going back and getting more checks, about $8,000 a few times. And boy, great job, Nisi. Here's Mark. He's at 32. Then he went to 50,000. Then he went to 100,000. Then he got check B. He's at 166,000. Here's Lorraine at 105, then 120. And I believe she said more success stories. If that was Lorraine in the live chat the other day who had a success story, send it to me on Facebook, private message. I don't think I got it. I want to feature it on air. That is check C. So how do you get check C? So simple. Step 1, subscribe to this channel. Step 2, become a member. Step 3, go down to the membership newsletter. And then once you're in the membership newsletter, go down to check C. It is a wonderful, wonderful payout under check C. But you're not going to be applying online. You're being told how to call. For check C, you're making phone calls. 15 of them. Yeah, 15 of them. You're told where to call, how to call, what to say, and how to push. Remember, put multiple applications in. Do not wait for one item to formulate. Keep on putting applications in and lean on those incredible nonprofits. And go get check C, and there you go. Now, let me go over a couple of add-ons to that as well. Number 1, if you're having problems with the membership newsletter, or you open it up and you're confused by it, send me a private message. I'm here to help you. It's at facebook.com/LALATE News. You put the news at the end, LALATE News. Send me a private message. Guess what? I have a wonderful informational video that is also on YouTube that explains how to use the newsletter, how to open it, where it is, how it works, and everything about that. Send me a private message, and I'll send that to you if you're having problems finding the newsletter. 3 things to remember, actually 4 things. Subscribe, become a member. Then at the front of this channel, there's a little bell. hit that bell so the notification is set to all on. Then Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, you get an alert from YouTube that says new member post from LALATE. And there it says the latest newsletter. Lower down there, it says click here to go to the post. You go click here to go to the post. You're into the newsletter. Congratulations. The President of the United States is set to reportedly forgive more student loan debts. The latest details featured on this channel in the last 7 days came in from an analyst close to the negotiations who says that a announcement may be imminent. Biden's meeting this week with policymakers who have been advocating for loan forgiveness, says education expert Mark Kranowitz. In all likelihood, student loan debt forgiveness will be limited, but this would be big. I believe it's going to be $10,000. The forgiveness path so far for the president has been the following: forgave individuals who became disabled after graduation, then whose debts were procured by fraud by the university, went to work in the nonprofit or public sector, said no to 50,000, but this 10,000 I think is really the one that's going to happen. So stay with me. I'll feature more about student loan debt forgiveness and what you need to do as a federal student borrower to get your debt forgiven tonight on Evenings LALATE in prime time. Stay with me tonight. That's at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern. The next situation that's getting really interesting, and also has breaking news, is that six stimulus. Six stimulus, of course, is the latest stimulus package that overlaps. We do not do them one at a time. They overlap. As you see, we're doing third and sixth at the same time. And that comes as the European Commissioner President Ursula von Leyen says now that they believe that a deal on sanctioning Russian oil will be reached in the next few days by the EU. How do they get this done? Well, they've had big problems with three countries, and they are Hungary, Slovakia, and Czech Republic. They needed a clearance from this because they cannot get off of the Russian oils. So we expect that deal to be announced within days. You need it. As we go into the big weekend, the price of gasoline is high, but it's not high as it could be expected. Let me tell you where this economy is going. Let me tell you where this channel is going. And let me tell you where your stimulus is going. First, stock market crash of 2022. Just starting. This is not the bottom. Don't think it's the bottom. Don't be buying it thinking this is the dip. We are going into 2 years of recession. A lot of analysts, thank you next, are giving you crazy statements, thank you next, at which they just sort of want to tell you, we're good. Just come on in and start buying right now. No, do not be buying in just yet. The retail industry and their corporate earnings suggest this is a very confusing market. Why is the retail numbers so confusing? Because what happened is that the merchandise did arrive in the retail stores, and yet it didn't sell for many series of different reasons. Let me tell you the totality of what we learned today from Dick's Sporting Goods and why it overlaps and mirrors what happened last week from everything from Target to Ross Dress for Less and Kohl's. The totality of all these reports are saying we got the merchandise. The supply chain disruption is not that we don't get any merchandise. It's not that the shelves are empty. It's that the shelves are stocked the wrong way. The takeaway, for example, is they bought the product, but it came hideously late. So, for example, they bought product for winter, and then we moved quickly into warmer climate. They couldn't sell the product. That's the most obvious example of supply chain disruption. The other one is they misguided the lockdowns and the lack of lockdowns. So they thought that maybe the subvariant of Omicron was going to be more severe. They thought people were going to go outdoors more and still hike a little bit more. No, that trend line was starting to dissipate. People going back into the workforce, back into the labor market, and so that is why the supply chain disruption is very confusing. So the stock market crash of 2022. Just getting started. Housing market crash of 2022 just starting as well. There is a real bad disconnect in this market. And the disconnect comes from the home builders and the realtors, with the exception of one organization who had really great comments this week. I applaud them. I featured them 3 days ago. It's just all thank you next stuff. It's just crazy buffoonery statements where they say, we have all these cash buyers and there's just lots of cash buyers and everything's going to be fine. Who cares about the mortgage rate? We just have cash buyers. What is this craziness they're saying? They're basically saying, we don't care that the mortgage rates are out of control. We have cash buyers. Has it ever worked? No, it's never worked. Has the housing market always done well because there's all cash buyers and then the mortgage rates could be 200,000%? No, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's crazy talk. It's crazy talk. Cash buyers does not mean they had cash sitting around. It means they sold their tech stocks, they sold their other real estate holdings, they sold their antique car, they sold something to come up with the cash. When the valuations of their assets have gone down at 40% in just a week, they ain't selling it to come up with cash. They're holding it and not buying the house. That is why the housing market crash of 2022, I think, is the most bubblish of the things I'm looking at today. Stock market crash of 2022, I think it's orderly. One person's been talking about it. It's an orderly crash. The stock market crash, we sort of know it's going on. We're not in pie in the sky, with the exception of a few analysts that says, the tech bullion is done. We sort of know it's going on. We're sort of easing into the stock market crash. The housing market crash of 2022, it's gonna be a bloodbath because there's a lot of crazy comments. Thank you, next out there. The home builders were among the crazy comments just a week ago that said there's a lot of demand. They're just not buying at these price points. That doesn't count. There's a lot of demand. They're just not buying our homes because they're overpriced. Yeah, that doesn't count. Demand means they actually buy the thing. Demand doesn't mean I love your house, it's so pretty, but I'm not buying it. You price the seller out of the market, that's not a demand. Who comes up with this way of talking? It's ridiculous. Thank you, next, really. Let's go over to the recession of 2022 or 2023. Well, I got to tell you that if the consumer believes that we're in a recession later this year, then there's a reason why. And if the reason is that they need money, then the stimulus stampede's coming sooner than I expected. And that's why I'm predicting the stimulus stampede on the channel's 3 months out. That is why you need to get these checks right today. You're a renter, you're a homeowner, you are young, you're old, you're on benefits, you're not on benefits, you work, you don't work, go get some checks. You don't have to be behind on rent, you don't have to be behind on your hairstyle. You don't have to be behind on your lobster short purchases. You don't have to be behind on anything. Just go get those checks. As Mr. Knott said, it's not that we're not sure. It's just go get it. Go get those checks because in 90 days from now, guess what? You're going to be competing with a lot more people to get checks. You don't want that. You don't want that. So step 1, subscribe to this channel. Step 2, become a member. Step 3, to get that incredible newsletter. Step 3 and step 4, pounce and get those 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state. Tonight on Amy's LALATE, we're going to have a lot more details. Meantime, what I've been saying throughout the last few days is even more amplified today. You got to watch all the videos throughout the day because the news cycle is so robust now. There's a lot going on. I still am waiting for Jay Powell's Fed minutes to be released. That's going to be featured on E-News LA. I have a lot coming up later today. I have guidance on Costco and Macy's perhaps by tonight. I have a lot coming up, and that is why the news cycle is changing every few hours. You can't think that what you're going to see on one show is going to be the same on the other. It's not. So make sure you watch all the shows. We start before sunrise at 3 a.m. with Sunrise LA, and then 3:30. Early mornings LA at 4 a.m., which had a lot of viewership the last 2 days. Thank you. Then we have Mornings LA at 9 a.m. live on air. 11 a.m. is Home LA, where we go over your latest routing times for your checks. The 1 o'clock afternoons, the 3 o'clock afternoons, which is brand new every day. And then we go on our evening shows, brand new at 5 o'clock. Then 6 o'clock is Countdown. 7 is Stream Stimulus. 8 is Extra. And 9 is Sunset. Until I go into our overnight shows starting after 9 o'clock. And with that, promise me this, you are going to subscribe and become a member right now. And you're going to go get those big checks. You deserve these big checks. Check A, B, C. And oh yeah, there's another check. I saved it for the very end. Check D is also in the membership newsletter. Surprise, surprise. It is about 24 U.S. states. It is nearly an automatic check. It's upwards of $2,000. Which of the 24 states has this automatic check? It's coming from your state. It's all in the membership newsletter. Another reason to subscribe and become a member. Get these incredible checks and see you tonight on Evenings LA. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, God bless. God bless all of you. Pound and get these big sums of money. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.